Hi, I'm Adios Amigo, and I'm doing a quick review of the TFZ Secret Garden. The Secret Garden comes in one of two flavors, either a 3 balanced armature driver pair, or one with 12mm single dynamic drivers. I went with the dynamic driver model. They also come with removable MMCX cables and a 3.5mm connector that feels like it's made out of metal, which is pretty cool. The 12mm driver is pretty large and it results in a really wide bore, so you may find some issues with fit on this or getting a good seal. I'm using the stock silicone tips that came with it. You can see that in the unboxing video if you're curious. Now the large shell and the large bore on these make these really uncomfortable to wear in the long run. You can see how big it sits in my ear, but pretty much after an hour or two these become too uncomfortable to wear. I start feeling a sharp pain in my ear, and taking them out, I just feel like a cool breeze of relief kind of sails into my ear canals, which is not a good sign. In terms of sound, they have an extended treble with good energy without being fatiguing. That's really hard to pull off. They also have an extended bass, even into the sub bass, with good impact without bleeding into the mids. Also really hard to pull off. It makes me so sad that they couldn't get the mids right, because the mids are just a little too recessed for my taste. I could pound on and on about it, but it's just a personal preference for tuning. Going on to soundstage. The soundstage is actually pretty wide and pretty deep on these. I feel like they layer music really well with the exception of vocals. Anywhere from, large classical bands down to small bands sound really interesting. It's just the vocals really that kind of take the hit, and it results in me wanting to offer competitive options. These are the Noble X's. They go for about $250 on mass drop, and there's just a lot to like about these IEMs despite the fact that they're $100 more than the TFZ. It might be kind of hard to tell from here, but the chassis is smaller. It's a little bit easier to get a good fit with the spin fit tips on there. And their lighter weight just makes them really comfortable to wear in the long run. Here you can see how much smaller it sits in the ear. So these also have removable cables, so if you want to get balanced on either of these, it's totally doable. I prefer the tuning on these just a little bit. The mids come forward a lot, the vocals come forward a lot. The bass is kind of simmered down, a little bit more tame. The treble is about the same. And I just feel like the tuning fits more genres that I listen to. I felt like the bass was a little out of control on the TFZ when I was listening to punk or pop or rock. Not really a problem here on the Nobles. The only real thing is the electronic doesn't quite sound as engaging, but literally everything from classical to pop and rock and ska and punk, they all sound better on these, and I can wear it for longer, which is nice. And there's also some more inexpensive options like the Hi-Fi-Man RE600S V2. These go for about $100 on Hi-Fi-Man's website. Their very mid-centric vocals are prime. Treble and bass do take a backseat though. Another option is the Noble EDC Velvet. These do have a built-in microphone, so you can actually use these as a headset if you want. The tuning is very similar to the TFZ Soundgarden, just less refined. The bass does actually have more energy than the treble or the mids, and the treble has more energy than the mids. The bass does bleed into the mids, and the treble does get fatiguing, which isn't great. But because of the size and comfort and cost, these are going for about $115, I just feel like all of these other options are better for me because I can't even wear the TFC for more than an hour. Your mileage may vary on these depending on the size of ear, but it's hard to say I can keep the TFZs if I can't even wear them comfortably, even with how good they sound.